Now, being 57 years old is both a blessing and a curse. So let me kind of go through the blessing part. The blessing part is that I've lived long enough to make lots of mistakes. That's right, it is a blessing because had the chance to learn from them and hopefully not repeat them over and over. I've had the blessing to be able to raise a family. I've been able to have, I don't know, thousands upon thousands of conversations, read thousands of different things, and just basically being able to broaden my understanding of the world. And the broader my understanding of the world goes, the smaller I become a part of it. You see, I find that the less interactions you've had in life, the more your life is focused on you. You are the world. But the more you learn, the more you realize that you're not all that. You're not the cat's meow. You're not the king shit of the world. So the curseful part, well, the curseful part is that I remember a time when the world was far more normal. Now, you didn't hear me say perfect. You didn't hear me say wonderful. I just said more normal. It wasn't the upside down, insane world we lived in. People thought about ideas with a little bit more depth. Thinking wasn't intellectually shallow. But that's all changed. We live in a different world now, where thanks to the iPhone, the internet, and everything else, shallow thinking is what passes for deep intellectual thought. And not to mention, we now celebrate insanity and every form of debauchery we can. We didn't used to do that at one time. You see, at one time, people who had mental health issues used to be given genuine help. That's right. We had these places called institutions. Now, they were less than perfect, I'll grant you that. There was abuses that happened there, absolutely. But like the old saying goes, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There was still a lot of good done in those places. I know personally because I had a mother who suffered from mental health issues. So I'm well aware of the positive stuff that was done. Now, what we did though is we closed those places down because we said that stigmatizes people and it unfairly labels them. So we did the most humane thing we could. We threw them back to their family or on the streets. And for those who were left in the care of their families, these families were ill-equipped. It takes years and years to understand how to deal with mental health issues. And someone who doesn't see the world as rational at all, sees it totally opposite to what reality is very hard to deal with. For example, if I had said, you know what, I'm the reincarnation of Elvis, baby. Exactly. Somebody would have said, hey, dude, I don't think so. I don't think you're Elvis, and I think we're going to get you some help. But today, I can be whatever I want to be. If I'm Elvis, I'm Elvis. I can identify as whatever I like. If I want to identify as a fox, wear a mask, put a tail on myself, and squat to take a dump in a litter box, sure, I'm that guy. But at one time in a rational world, we thought the humane thing was to help those people and provide them care. But now the humane thing is to just let them be. Humane for who, though? You have to wonder. And so if you look at all of that and you look at the closing of a lot of these institutions, I would say they correlate with a lot of the homelessness that we see on the streets today. A lot of the people that are on the streets are not people who necessarily enjoy the lifestyle of living out in the rain and freezing their asses off in the winter or eating out of garbage cans. I would say there are people who are disconnected from reality and they have a hard time. They need serious help. And the humane thing isn't to just throw them out on the street and say, hey, fend for yourself. You know, you can just survive. I mean, it's totally fine. That doesn't seem to be the hallmark of a caring society. And I would think that the younger people, especially the ones who are very much activists, who see the world through only victim and oppressor, would be ones who would say, hey, we're going to champion ending homelessness, or we're going to champion helping people with mental health issues, people who don't rightly see the world the way it should be, who simply just because, you know, they might fancy themselves as Napoleon or see that around every corner somebody's trying to murder them, that's not a rational way of thinking. However, they're caught in a paradigm now, those people, because if they say that's a mental health issue, what do you do with someone who identifies as the opposite sex? Is that a mental health issue? So you're in this quandary. But so what do they do instead? Well, they find other causes to champion. I mean, with all of the insanity that's happened with the Middle East, I'm amazed at how many students have been out supporting, protesting, doing all that sort of stuff. And yet living amongst them, I would say in some of these places, like these homeless people, like if you go to downtown east side of Vancouver or any major metropolitan city, I would say the conditions that people live in those places are probably not far off from what it is in the West Bank. Now, of course, there's no, weapons flying either way, but just the conditions, no running water, no toiletry. I mean, all of these different facilities are got to be very similar. They have their own fellow citizens living in the squalor, but yet nobody's speaking out. Nobody's doing anything. Because again, it's far easy to virtue signal and just chant a slogan or hold a flag. But actually wanting to solve problems is the work of serious-minded people. And I would go back to where I began with all this. We live in a world of less serious-minded people. We just don't have those people anymore. What we have is people who have attention spans of gnats, of fruit flies. They don't have deep critical thinking skills. We haven't taught them those skills. Unfortunately, my generations and other generations have relegated those things and have just basically jettisoned those ideas and basically done the heavy lifting for these other people that have come along. It's sort of like a mother who chews food when you're a baby and then breaks it down for you. We have adults, grown-ass people whose parents are still chewing life up for them and feeding them life so they can experience it. And it's wrong. So what do? Well, I would say that the challenges we're faced with is having people face reality. One of the first things that we could do more humanely is bring back these types of institutions. We need people to get the care they deserve and they should be getting if we're going to have a society that is not going to celebrate mental health, that isn't going to celebrate people that are not thinking clearly. Otherwise, we're going to wind up in a society and a culture where all things pass as normal, and it's going to become and start looking more and more like something out of an apocalyptic book or story. It's going to be like Gotham, where the inmates are going to be running the asylum and the rest of us are going to be running for our lives. Anyway, I do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much. If you have any comments, please post them in the comment section. You can also follow me on my Rumble and my Locals account. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. You can also follow me on my Twitter channel at Camera612. I'll see you next time.